Cavalleria Rusticana and Pagliacci.
Very
wow.
Right?
Very
Look
well
at
done.
some of
I
this
thought that
footage.
was going to crash and burn. Way worse.
Yeah,
Well done. That was,
It worked.
That was amazing. And it's a double bill. You're getting two
for
operas.
one.
You know, it's 90 minutes, and then I'd imagine an intermission, and then 90 minutes.
Yes, so it's two complete productions that are showcased during one performance.
This is so cool. Let's take a shot of the costumes that you have brought in for us this morning. Okay, what are we looking at here? What character dons this wonderful ensemble?
So this is one of our chorister costumes. So Pagliacci is set pretty traditionally. It's sort of an Italian village in the late 1800s. It's Easter morning, so we see a lot of different people in this town that is sort of waking up and coming to life. And some of our choristers are dressed in these rather traditional folk costumes. So you can see there's elements of religious iconography that are in the costume, lots of rich, deep fabrics, lots of textures. And you can see in these clips from the production, there's really a range of people who are on stage. We are trying to tell the story including all different roles in society. So we've got soldiers, we've got people from the clergy, we've got people who might have been working in the fields, we've got upper class folks, we've got really the range of humans that make up this town on an Easter morning.
Unbelievable.
Kim, you know, these are operas that have been performed many hundreds of times, different places around the world for years and years. I'm sort of curious, what sort of ownership do you feel over, you know, working with the costumes when it's your time, whenever you get to do it? Because, you know, different, costume directors have done different things. To what degree do you sort of have to honor what's been done in the past, but then also say, you know what, it's my time to do this show now?
Well, so we have different designers for each of our productions. Michael Jurgen is the designer of both Cav and Pag. This production was mounted originally in 2002, and then again in 2009. And so we're mounting this production that Lyric owns for what is actually the third presentation of this very production. And so, of course, there are different versions of this production that exist all over the world. And really, I think it's a great privilege to be able to work on these productions, especially that have such a long history in Chicago with Lyric, and but then also carry that history of the operatic repertoire.
Yeah.
And so we've got a lot of traditional elements in this production, and also some things that take it into more of a stylized approach. So we really get to see that variety of how a show can be presented, what the design elements can be, how the story can be told. And that's really one of the beautiful things about opera and the arts, is the ability to tell stories in different ways. And costuming is just one element in that.
How did you yourself find yourself in this career path? Was this always something you were passionate about from a young age?
I had no idea that what I do is actually even a job option. So I grew up in a family that was very we were strong proponents of arts education, and so I grew up as a musician. I was also active in my public school theater scene, and then when I went to college, I was like, what is the merging of music and theater? And opera turned out to be that space for me. Working in the costume shop was a work-study job for me in college that led to summers working in different professional theaters, and it was a wonderful wave that just turned into an actual career for me.
That is so cool. How long have you been with Lyric?
This is my third season at Lyric. Prior to that, I was based in New York for about 13 years.
It's so cool to get the behind the scenes. I mean, they spare no.
It's unreal. I mean, just look at just those three. Really quick, what are the dates where people can come out and see the shows?
Cav Pag, it runs through November 23rd. And so there's several more performances that people can come to. All of the information is available on our website at lyricopera.org.
Kim Bitzel, thank you for being here.
Job.
Costume director at the Lyric Opera of Chicago with the behind-the-scenes look.
Well done.
Thank you for your time. Really
you so
We're going to
appreciate
hold on to
it.
them just maybe like for next Halloween.
Yeah, for Halloween.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Kim. Appreciate it.
All right,
We're going to
Chicago
take
Now
a
rolls on.
quick break. We'll be back with more Chicago Now right after this, everybody.
When you walk.
And welcome to the 11 o'clock hour of Chicago
Welcome,
Now.
Gabby.
Thank you very much. What a
Hello,
great
hello,
interview
hello.
with, all the behind-the-scenes
cool?
look of the
That
Lyric
cool?
Opera show. Yeah, beautiful
Awesome
costumes
ideas for
going
next
on over there.
Halloween.
Well, we, as always, have a packed show coming up. We're going to be talking to Block Club Chicago, as we
Yeah.
always do on Thursdays. We're also going to be talking about Magic, a show that's going on. It's Christmas
Magic
themed.
show.
Mhm.
A magic
It's at the
show.
very end, so you'll have to stick with us. But first, right away, we want to bring in Mark Brackett, author of Dealing with Feeling and founding director of the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. Thank you so much, Mark, for being patient with us and chatting. You know, we hear all the time, I'm anxious, right? So parents say it, students say it, executives, whoever it might be.
The anxious generation.
But maybe they aren't feeling anxious really at their core. So I want to ask you first, what do you mean by that? How are we maybe mislabeling anxiety nowadays?
Mark, can you hear us, sir?
Hi, Mark. Oh, we can't hear anything. Interesting. Well, you know what, Mark? Hang tight for a little bit longer. We're going to figure it out behind the scenes. But you know, we're always working through things. When there's breaking news happening here in Chicago, we're always wanting to be on it. But you know, we're just being a little bit more fluid with what we have going on.
This is the first morsel of perhaps positive mental health news that I've heard about in
It is.
recent years, where, you know, as a parent, there's this huge book in parenting right now. It's called The Anxious Generation. It's by this guy named Jonathan Haidt, and it's basically about social media's impact on kids and what it's doing to their anxiety levels. So when I hear tidbits like, hey, there's research being done where, hey, we may not be quite as anxious as we think we are, I'm wondering, you know, what a positive sign that could be, because sometimes these things take on a life of their own, where we're told, it's like, you know, if you're told you're anxious enough, all of a sudden, gosh, I'm feeling pretty anxious right now.
You are, yeah. It kind of makes it happen. I know, so I'm curious to hear how we're mislabeling it. Like, you know, if we are feeling a certain way, maybe he's going to clear up, like, okay, if you're feeling this, and so symptom, say, this is actually you know, what you should be accrediting it to, not necessarily anxiety, because yeah, you when you hear yourself described as one way, you're going to believe it. Obviously.
Yeah, but eventually you are.
Make itself happen.
But I do think that these, you know, it's the pace of information that I think it winds me up. I don't know about you, Gabby, but by the end of the day, when I've consumed enough information, whether it's news or, you know, scrolling social media, a lot of times you do feel that level of just being wound up like a doll by the end of the day, and it takes it takes a lot to wind back down and go to sleep. Have you noticed that in your own life?
Oh, totally, yeah. I mean, it takes a while, and that's why I've been using melatonin so much. And you know, we've been having these stories the last couple of days with melatonin and possible heart, you know, difficulties that we could have.
I know, yesterday, and I am the same way, Gabs. We're going to take a quick break here on Chicago Now, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Hey, thanks for joining us again. I'm Gabriela Primus with
Anthony Ponce here.
Yeah, this
hey,
is now your second hour. You had a great interview, as I said, with that show that's coming to Lyric Opera. But I want to check in with you. How are you feeling right now?
Well, this is interesting. So I'm feeling relaxed right now. I love these leather chairs. And there's a difference between being an anxious person and feeling anxious. And we're going to parse out the difference. We are joined now. I can understand our audio issues are now resolved.
Just
Mark
like
Brackett, can you hear us okay?
I can. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we got you. Mark is the author of a book called Dealing with Feeling, and he's also the founding director of the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. Mark, we want to start off by asking you, Gabby had asked you, but our audio was cutting out, to parse out the difference between feeling anxious and actually being anxious, you know, being medicated for anxiety. Can you kind of run us through the difference and how we are mislabeling perhaps anxiety here in 2025?
Sure. Well, I think that we are not anxious. You know, we experience anxiety. I think it's important to not define ourselves by an emotion. That's dangerous. That makes us, you know, unable to change, and we don't want that for people. We want people to be able to get the help they need to manage their feelings effectively. I think the other thing is that we use the term anxiety all too often, and there are other words that that matter. For example, are we feeling anxious? Are we feeling stressed? Are we afraid, or are we overwhelmed? Those are all different experiences.
Well, how can we tell the difference, though? Like, what are some maybe key things that we're feeling that we can differentiate what's actually happening inside?
It's a great point. And I think it's what's happening in our minds, too, because sometimes what we feel in our bodies is tricky. I could be tired, but I also say, oh, I'm anxious, but actually, I'm just tired. So emotions have themes. And what I mean by that is that anxiety is about uncertainty around the future. We feel anxious when we can't make the prediction about what's going to happen. We feel stress when we have too many demands and we don't have enough resources to deal with all those demands. We feel fear when there's impending danger. We feel overwhelmed when we're saturated. We just can't kind of take any more information in. And then there's another word like pressure, where something at stake is dependent upon our behavior. All different experiences that people tend to label as anxiety.
Mark, run us through the benefit of actually drilling down and being more specific with our labels rather than using this blanket term of anxiety. Why is it important to get more specific here? What does it do therapeutically?
Well, we say you have to name it to tame it. So, for example, if I'm feeling anxious, meaning I can't predict what's going to happen, I need to rethink that. I need to have some self-talk strategies. Mark, you have no control over the weather. Mark, you have no control over whatever's happening. You know, think about it from a different perspective. That will help with our anxiety. When we're stressed, remember we have too many demands, not enough resources. Either we have to take stuff off of our plate, or we got to get help. We got to get people to help us out. I think those two are really good examples because, a lot of people rely on breathing exercises, which are very helpful. But, if you take a breath when you're stressed, you're still going to have too many things you got to do. And so either you take stuff off your plate or you get the help you need.
Is there somewhat like, I don't know, maybe you say it in your book, but is there a way that you can calm yourself down other than deep breathing that you share with your clients?
Yeah, I think there's so many things that we can do. This is the beauty of healthy emotion regulation and what I read about in my book, which is that, some people it's listening to music. Some people it's taking a nice walk out in nature. And if you don't live in nature, I live in New York City. It's beautiful to walk around the city and look at the molding of the buildings. Just something to get your mind off of what is causing you to have those feelings can be enormously helpful. A healthy distraction.
We are going to take one quick break, but when we come back, we're going to do a simple on-air demonstration that our viewers can do with us in 30 seconds to decode what we are really feeling. We understand it's called the mood meter, and we're going to talk more about that with Mark Brackett, author of Dealing with Feeling, when we come back right after this short break. All right, 12:10, we are back with Mark Brackett. I understand, Mark, you have an app, it's called How We Feel, and there's a mood meter on that app, and a little exercise to help everybody decode how we are feeling. Do you want to run us through that? I don't know if we can do it here without the app downloaded, but are we able to do that live on the air? Oh, we lost it. Oh, there we go. Okay, we gotcha.
Great. So the app is free. It's called How We Feel. It's on both Android and iOS. And what's great about the app is that it teaches us about our feelings. There's 144 emotion words built into the app with their definitions. So you can plot your feelings in these different quadrants. So there's the yellow, the red, the blue, and the green. So yellow emotions are happy, excited, hopeful, optimistic. Green emotions are emotions that are calm, content, tranquil, peaceful. The blue is down, disappointed, sad, lonely. And then the red is the anxiety and the anger family. And so it's built in around science, and it allows you to think, all right, what's my energy? What's my pleasantness? Oh, I'm in the yellow, red, blue, or green. And then what we can do is decide what we do with that feeling. What strategy will be most helpful to regulate that emotion?
Interesting.
Really,
yeah, it seems really
cool.
easy.
I like how you delineated
the
the color. Red, I was like, okay, yeah, red's going to be those like
makes sense.
big ones.
Still talking about different language. Oh, there's a nice visual for us. When you're a visual learner and just like when you kind of lean into that, it really does help. But Mark, I have to ask you, using the language like anxiety a lot, I probably hear it 10 times a day, honestly, whether it's at work, at home, I don't know, play. Is it, does it kind of miscue things maybe for kids who hear it, because then they're kind of living their life thinking, oh, I'm just constantly anxious too?
It's not great to talk about it all the time. So, as parents, we want to be mindful not to say, I'm anxious all day long, because that will be contagious to our kids. And that's an important piece. I think, what's important for us to do when we're working with, whether it's our significant others or our kids, is ask questions, be curious. Tell me what happened. I want to know more about your experience. And then you listen for that theme. Is it a theme of an unmet expectation, which would be disappointment? Is it about an injustice? Well, that's going to be anger. Just one quick example. So in my work with college students, they all were saying, I'm stressed, I'm stressed. And I had them journal about what they were stressed about. And lo and behold, their real feeling wasn't stress, it was envy.
Oh.
They were constantly making social comparisons, and everyone else was doing better than they were, or that they had, studied for less hours and got better grades, or their parent had more, opportunities for them. The point is that once we label it as envy, we could think about a strategy which was having more gratitude, actually, as opposed to saying I'm stressed or anxious.
That is super fascinating. So when you really press them, when you really press these college kids, it came down mostly to comparing themselves with others. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep. And that's not anxiety.
Yeah.
It's envy.
Yeah.
And so when we're envious, we need different tools to regulate our feelings than when we're anxious.
So college kids aren't the only ones that feel that, especially in this social media environment where we are scrolling and seeing everyone's perfect life depicted on things like Instagram and TikTok. What are some strategies we can use? You alluded to gratitude as an antidote here.
Yeah, I think that's a big one because it's the antidote. If you just take a moment and think, oh my gosh, I'm in college, I'm doing well, I've got great professors like Mark Brackett. But, all kidding aside, it is a reframing. We have to put ourselves, we have to look at our situation through another lens, challenge ourselves to think differently about things. I think another big piece of this is limiting our use of these tools, because we know that the greater time spent, the more anxiety we have. So I think, mindfully using it is important.
Mm-hmm. We talked about your app, Mark, but I also want to talk about your book because, we showed the cover and it is really nice. Take us through what people experience when they read the book.
So the first part of the book is really making the case for why everyone should take their emotions seriously. They're not things that we should, check at the door, as people say sometimes. Our emotions are with us from the moment we wake up in the morning till the time we go to bed at night. And we need to learn how to manage them effectively, because what we know is that people who are more skilled at regulating their emotions, they make better decisions, they have better relationships, they have better mental and physical health, and they are more likely to achieve their goals. And the big one is that people live longer when they have these strategies.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a technique.
Oh, there's so many benefits. Mark, this is great to talk to you. Fascinating stuff. Again, the book is called Dealing with Feeling. And he is Mark Brackett from the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. Mark, thank you so much for your time this morning. Glad we got our audio issues resolved and we could really drill down. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We have more Chicago Now right after this, everybody.
This
Welcome back to Chicago Now. So every Thursday, oh, look at the bean. Doesn't it look nice with the fun colors behind there?
Indeed it does. I like the red, the green, and then that silver pop in the middle.
We still have some people checking out the bean, seeing the reflection, taking those cool pictures. Anyway, it's Thursday. Every Thursday we talk to Block Club Chicago for some neighborhood news. And of course we have John Hanson on. Thank you so much for joining us.
It kind of looks like I live next to the bean, and it's reflecting through these
It
windows
almost
right
does.
now.
It's like,
Nice bright
how
light
can you even
have
see?
behind you.
Don't look behind you. Just blind yourself.
Yeah, right? Whoa, blinded by that light.
Yeah.
But
My
hey, we'll take the
goodness.
sunshine, won't we?
Hey,
sure.
no kidding. We want to talk about first the story that we were trying to follow a little bit on Good Day Chicago, and I know that you guys have reported on it as well. A daycare worker at a Spanish immersion preschool in the North Center neighborhood was arrested by ICE agents yesterday. Tell us about this story.
Yeah, they call her Miss Diana, and there was some pretty shocking video showing them going into this center near Lane Tech High School and essentially dragging her out. Now, ICE says that it wasn't in the daycare, it was in the vestibule attached to the daycare. But parents say that kids were present and they know Miss Diana and they love her and that she helps take care of their kids. So after that video went pretty viral yesterday and the story went viral as we see it here, families gathered last night. Hundreds of people gathered demanding in the North Center community that federal immigration agents, stay out of the schools, out of the daycares after this happened. This was 7 a.m. yesterday morning. Now, the alderman's office in the 47th ward, that's Alderman Matt Martin, where this took place, he coordinated with some Northside community groups, including a couple of projects, to stage this rally Wednesday night that got a lot of people together, as it's just one more boiling point in this continuing saga in seemingly every ward, right? This is the North Center community, which the North Side has started to get a lot of these raids as well happening. So, yeah, I mean, we'll keep you abreast of the situation, but as of right now, neighbors are really frustrated about what's happened.
Okay. Meantime, DHS is saying that those officers tried to pull her over before she got to the school, that she was recklessly endangering the children inside, and that she was taken into custody inside a vestibule, not in the school. All right, John, let's move on and talk about, is this an ice rink or is it a roller rink? You guys have a story about an anniversary for this beloved facility down in Chatham, is that right?
Yep, it's the rink. Chance the Rapper has sung about it. It is a roller rink. It is not an ice rink.
Okay.
And look at it here. These are great photos from Colin Boyle. This place is bumping. It's been going for 50 years. The owners are a couple that actually met at the rink and have kept it going. They bought it about 6 years ago, right before the pandemic. Ramona Pouncey and her husband bought this rink, and it was going to be sold to a trucking company, actually. They were probably going to tear it down or not use it as a roller rink, but it had been in the community so long that they said, no, come on, let's do something else. And the owner, the deal to the trucking company fell through, and they took that as their sign, and they said, all right, well, we'll buy it, and we'll make sure it lives on. That was a Thursday night where they do lessons for people of all ages. I mean, people over 60 and teenagers gathering to learn how to roller skate. And then when the lessons are done, the lights dim, there's a DJ there, and the crowd is rocking. And Atavia Reed, who wrote this great story for Blog Club Chicago, says that it is that crowded Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, that it's really this hopping place of community, of gathering. Atavia said that people have said it saved lives by giving not only people something to do, but improving mental welfare and just giving some retro vibes, some wholesome vibes to what is seen as kind of this archaic thing, right? A lot of roller skates, roller rinks have closed down over the years, but the rink on 87th continues.
That is so cool. It stood the test of time.
50 years.
Yeah.
You know, that was going to be my question, because we every so often get these kind of stories where it's like this little space that young people, people of all ages go to, and they really get a lot out of it. Wow.
It sounds like this has got just like so much tradition behind it. I absolutely love it.
And we're also
well, it's kind of like the place to be in the neighborhood on these nights. Like, people really like kind of dress up nicely, and they really use this as a gathering spot. The music is loud. Atavia said she could barely hear herself think during some of the dancing, but it was, and the moving. But some of these people are, like, she saw people with tattoos of roller skates on them. Like, these are a dedicated crowd of people that go, but then also some new people that come and go. I love the story. It looks also very retro, but that was actually when they bought this place, they had to redo the roof. That carpet, which looks like it's straight out of the 90s, is actually new. So it has that familiar look of a roller rink, but it is done to the nines. And I also want to mention one other thing.
Sure.
Please.
The food there. When I go to the roller rink, I'm thinking like nachos and mozzarella sticks.
Totally.
Well, she is more of a health food nutritionist, so you get like sweet potato fries and really some really like cool culinary dishes at the roller rink too, which I think contributes to success.
That is awesome.
Yeah, we gotta go
We gotta
visit.
check that. Yeah, visit that. I think we should do a segment on.
I just know the
Good Day
music is
Chicago. We
bumping,
gotta
too.
send you out.
Hey, I'm
Send
down.
you out on a pair
John,
of
I'll
roller
let you know
skates.
when it's on.
I actually got on.
Can
a
you
pair
do
of
it,
roller
Gabby?
skates.
Can you roller skate or
You know
no?
what? I did try it not too long ago,
Yeah.
and I was okay.
So I can ice skate fairly well. Roller skating, where there's 4 wheels, different.
Well, they say that
Different beast. Different beast.
Same.
Different
roller
beast.
skating,
I tried.
Rollerblading is
Rollerblading.
They usually have both
easy.
options there.
Well, I think we're all. Well, I think Andy, you and I are probably the same age. Rollerblading was really cool when we were kids,
Yes.
not roller skating. So
Right.
I was like rollerblading all
Me
over
too.
the place. Never
Me
knew
too.
how to stop. I'd have to like jump in the grass to get to slowing down because I couldn't use
like
those
that.
little brakes.
Yeah, no. Well,
I
I
can
had
ice
to
skate.
resort to the drag the rubber wheel
Yes.
technique. You know, you drag it on the, and then your wheels are shut.
But I'm also
You
actually
and I
now-
were not the cool people
No.
that could like stop on a dime,
You
were
know,
we?
yeah, I wasn't either though, because I remember just pedaling with one foot, like almost like a scooter, and like this
Gabs.
leg would just kind of.
No,
stay
yeah.
It was
You
weird.
gotta engage both those legs.
Switching gears,
Yeah,
we're
right.
also talking about possible cuts for the city, and one of them
yeah.
kind of targets libraries, and librarians, older people, they're pushing back.
Yeah, no one wants to see cuts to the library. Let's just be frank, right? I think most people agree the library is a valuable resource to the community. Some people might say, why do you need a building full of books? But I think people that know and go to libraries, it is like so much more than that. They are community programs for children, adults. Some people still don't have access to the internet. That's where they go. It's just a gathering place, a resource for communities. On the other hand, we have this gigantic budget hole. It's got to get filled one way or the other. You got to raise revenue, you got to cut things, and likely a combination of both. So what they proposed here in the mayor's budget is actually eliminating some vacant positions. So it's not eliminating and dropping people that are already employed. It's taking some of these vacancies and saying, well, don't fill them instead. The mayor and the mayor's office says, look, this is a lifeline to the libraries. We're going to be able to not shut any libraries down with this plan by just eliminating some of the current positions. But other advocates say, you get rid of that position, it's never coming back.
Yeah.
We're trying to fill it. We're understaffed. We needed more staffing. So it's a tale as old as time. This time it's just the library that is on the chopping block in some parts. But again, the mayor's office says this means it wouldn't close any libraries, would still be able to be solvent. Library revenue is not like going up astronomically, as you all can imagine.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one. Like these are, look, everyone says they want to be the mayor. But then you have to start like proposing
these
cuts
decisions,
and
yeah.
filling $1 billion hole, and it's not easy.
How are folks reacting to this in the neighborhoods, John? Give us an idea. Any aldermen responding to this, or any of the librarians responding?
Well, the librarians are all over the place, and rightfully so, right? They're on the front lines of this thing. They probably see, you know, it's easy for us to say we don't work at the library. Like, well, it's 69 vacant positions. They won't be filled, but you all are picking up the slack just fine, right? But anyone who's been in that position in a job knows that that's not the way it works. You're like working overtime. You're stretched thin. There's programs that are cutting. You're just trying to make ends meet. And to then find out that that's a permanent cut, of course, has some librarians upset as well. Older people in different communities also rallying together. We've been seeing from a lot of different older people saying, well, this can't be the way. But and I'm not saying one way or the other what has to happen, but you got to fill this budget out some way, right? It's a cruel process. I mean, and everyone always says like, oh yeah, that's a good way to cut. You can cut there, you can cut there, until it's the thing that you love and the thing that you want to do to cut. So it's going to be an interesting process. I mean, this whole budget process is wild. They've been talking about the head tax. I'm sure you guys have covered that.
The corporate head tax, sure.
Right. So, like, there's going to be a lot of fights along the way. And at Block Club, we kind of tick, cover each single one of them and dive into them deeper. And this is going to be a process that plays out over the next couple months.
All right. Moving on, before we let you go, we want to talk about this old Southworks site. Okay, this is a massive old steel plant, or it was a 440-acre former steel mill. Where exactly is this? And the story that you guys have posted involves a plan to actually clean up pollutants there to pave the way for a future facility. Get us updated on what the story's all about here.
The site is along Lake Michigan. It's the former U.S. Steel Southworks site, this massive property that's been closed for decades. But of course, a steel mill doesn't just get up and leave and you can build a park on top of it.
Right.
There's a lot of things in the ground that they've actually worked on before to try and rid all these pollutants and turn it into the park that we see. And for the most part, experts say it's safe to be here. This isn't harmful pollutants to you, but when you want to dig it up and put in quantum computing, and that's what's going to go here. If this all goes to plan, the Quantum Shore Chicago, which is a huge project. It is a controversial project in the neighborhood. They promise a lot of jobs. There's a lot of discussions about how much energy and water usage, and well, boy, we can get into all this stuff. But before this stuff even gets built, they've got to figure out, can they build here? And they did a study, and they have, I'm going to just read off the site. They shared the results of on-site soil and water testing. It did find some pollutants like petroleum, heavy metals, man-made chemicals from the steel mill's operation. Again, this stuff is down under the ground. It's okay to walk on top of for right now, but if they're going to dig up, build foundations, all this stuff, they had to come up with a plan. Well, they've released that plan now, how they're going to do it. The state has to look into it. Basically, they want to do like a barrier system. They're going to dig, they're going to put this asphalt, concrete, soil on top of things to try and separate these two levels. And then they want to create what are called slurry walls, which is important. If you're on the lake, you have to keep the water from coming on in if you're digging on deep. So it's very complicated. So the scientists, the experts, everyone's going to have to look into this to make sure that this plan is viable, because this could be, I'm sure they're going to work it out. I think they'll find some way to be able to do this. They're certainly confident of it. But like, this is part of a huge development, right? And this is kind of like, they broke ground on September 30th, but like, you can't be putting foundation down until you figure this part out. So we'll be following it.
And it is prime real estate. I mean, people don't realize this, that Chicago actually has an east side. Okay, it's little known, but this is a prime piece of real estate. It's right on the lake, as you mentioned, and it's massive.
It's massive, and there are so many great spots on the east side. You're absolutely right about that. And you go down to the east side, and you tell people, hey, where are we? They say, it's the east side. How do you not know the east side? But you're right. We don't cover it all that much. And part of the reason was steelworks used to be there. A lot of different coke and petroleum plants used to be there, right? Like, it's an area that is heavily industrialized, has been for a long time, as they would say, forgotten. There's been environmental concerns forever in these areas. And the community, you know, they've been fighting back against a lot of these pollutants, a lot of these things in the air that they've been trying to fight for decades and decades. Now it's, the tides have really turned, and people are really wise to this now and trying to help out. But yeah, this would be a huge development on some prime real estate, but got to get this figured out as you're digging down to make sure that this stuff isn't released on out.
Well, John, obviously, so they broke ground. Obviously, the construction is going to take a long time, but any idea, like, how long it would even take to get all the pollutants and, you know, clean up the space as they need to actually start building up?
That's a great question. I mean, years is probably my simple answer. Maxwell Evans, who wrote the story, would probably give you a little bit more. But, I mean, I'd say years. I don't want to guess too much more, but I mean, when you think about the approval process that just has to go through to make sure that their plan is okay, and then you got to start getting this stuff out, building that slurry wall, building that layers. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't guess, but I'd say it's safe to say years. I mean, if the Kennedy took 3 years, I mean, come on.
Don't hold your breath, in other words. John Hanson, thank you very much. You can find all these stories, Block Club Chicago. We always appreciate your time, sir.
Thanks, guys. Are you too blinded by what's
enjoy the sunshine, buddy. Enjoy the that's right. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, this is an 80-year-old mystery, okay? She was known as the Black Dahlia. We're talking about a woman named Elizabeth Short who died. She was brutally murdered at age 22. And this case got so much press in the aftermath because of the way this murder unfolded. It's been a mystery, part of kind of American crime lore for decades and decades and decades. And now, after nearly 80 years, one author says we may finally have some answers. We're going to be speaking with that author when we come back.
The accident.
Welcome back. Yes, all right. If people of a certain age will probably have heard of the Black Dahlia. Okay, this has been a murder mystery ever since the 1940s, and we have a new book out. It's called Sisters in Death. It was written by this gentleman right here, Mr. Eli Frankel. First of all, what inspired this? We're going to go into the Black Dahlia, but you have crafted your story around 2 different cases here, correct?
Yeah.
What inspired that approach?
Well, I'd always been a really big, I don't want to say use the word fan, but a really obsessive interest in the Black Dahlia case, which is a major murder case in Los Angeles and Hollywood history. And I had read everything there was to read about it, every book, every article. I had listened to every podcast. And there was sort of this like body of knowledge that was known about the case. And I think most people assumed that we would never find out anything more. And I kind of was at the same place as well. I was a hobbyist. And then eventually my interest, I kept wanting to dig and find new info. And so there are files that are available from the city of Los Angeles that are not kind of widely publicly available, but you can get them. And I was able to acquire them, and once I started looking into them, there were all these facts about the case and all this witness testimony and all this information that had never been discussed publicly. And in one of those pages was the description of a suspect that the original Los Angeles Police Department had in their sights. And there were when they questioned him, there were all sorts of mistruths and distortions they found in his story. And he was verified to have been with Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia, for 3 days immediately before she leaves for San Diego, a month before her murder. And this was a city she had never been to before. She didn't know anybody in. And she left in the middle of the night. So the police suspected that she had kind of escaped Los Angeles. And they looked into the past of the guy she had been with for 3 days. And what they found there was that he had gone to college in Kansas City, where he had grown up, with a woman who in 1941 was killed in eerily similar circumstances to the murder of Elizabeth Short. And they had pursued this suspect until the case went cold in the early 1950s. And in fact, he was at the top of their suspect list. In every report that the district attorney or the LAPD generates, his name is always #1 at the top. And I just thought, nobody's taken a look at this. Nobody's deep dive into who this guy was. What is this other murder? What were the circumstances of that murder? And could there be a connection here? He's always been overlooked. And so I thought, okay, this is going to be a really interesting research project. And it took me to Kansas City and to Kansas, that's in Missouri and Kansas and all these places. And I uncovered a ton of information, including the original descriptions and reports on the murder that the LAPD itself was never able to get their hands on. So all of a sudden, we have all this information that the police back then didn't have. And what I was able to discover was that the circumstances, these similarities in the 2 murders, weren't just sort of top-line things that the LAPD knew about, but an incredible list of murder signatures and modus operandi that really suggest the same hand is responsible for both murders.
So you're pretty much saying, like, it's not because it's 2025 and we have all this technology, it's right now versus back then. Back then they could have came maybe to the same conclusion if someone really went and looked into it.
Exactly. And there's a really interesting aspect of this whole story is that the LAPD did a lot of research into this guy and kind of doggedly went after him. And they contacted Kansas City Police Department for the files on that murder, which had occurred 6 years earlier. And
that's who you're calling the Prairie Heiress.
The Prairie Heiress.
Okay.
Her name was Leila Welsh.
Okay.
And she was killed in a really shocking and dramatic way, late at night in her home while she slept in the next room from where her mother and her brother were.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary case, and the details are just, it's unbelievable. But the LAPD tried to get those files from Kansas City Police Department, and KCPD said, sure, we'll send them over, and they never did. And the LAPD tried again and again for the next 3 or 4 years, and the files were never sent over. And so now we have all this info that the police never had.
Why did Kansas authorities refuse to hand it over?
Yeah, it's a big mystery, and it's actually detailed in the files from the original police reports. They don't know, and we really don't know, but there's speculation, A, that the city, Kansas City, was ready to move on from their, this murder that had been an embarrassment. They were unable to solve it and didn't want Los Angeles with all its detectives and technology, to jump in. But also the suspect that I looked into, his father was very influential in Kansas City and actually had sat on the police and fire commissions. And so one begins to wonder if there was sort of some undue influence involved.
This is absolutely fascinating. We're going to take a quick break, but we're speaking with Eli Frankel. He is joining us this morning to talk about his new book here. It's called Sisters in Death, The Black Dahlia Killer Perhaps Revealed. We'll have more with Eli when we come back.
Welcome back to Chicago Now. If you've been tuning in, you know that we've been kind of deep in this conversation because we are into true crime a little bit, not as much as Eli Frankel is here, who wrote Sisters in Death. You'll see the book here on the table, but we're continuing our conversation. I will say, Eli, that I have heard of Black Dahlia before because I grew up in Southern California. I know very little, but if people want to, pick up this book, should they have a good basic understanding of the case, or do you kind of go through that in your writings here?
Yeah, I don't think you really need to know too much about the case. One of the things that I really enjoyed doing, and one of the major tasks, was not only trying to investigate and solve the crime, but also to detail the lives of the two women who were featured in the story. And so it really tells you who they were from the very beginning, their origin stories, and then sort of their Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia, her sojourn in Los Angeles, and the details of those last 5 months.
The reason that one of the reasons that it has got such notoriety at the time was the way in which this individual, the Black Dahlia, was murdered. Can you, pretty safe to say kids are at school right now, but can you give us some basics about just the shocking way in which folks found her body?
Yeah, so that is really the main feature of the case and how people kind of get drawn into the story. And one of the big aspects of this is that the story is always told the same way, whether it's a podcast or a book or an article, that it always begins with the scene of how the body was found, because it's so dramatic. And it was a really shocking event in 1947 in Los Angeles when it occurred. A 26-year-old housewife named Betty Bersinger was walking down a 2-block stretch of weed-strewn lot in South Central Los Angeles on the morning of January 15th, 1947, and she's pushing a stroller with her 3-year-old daughter, Ann. And as they're walking down the street, she looks to her right, and right there, displayed and right next to the sidewalk in full view, is the cleanly severed and mutilated form of Elizabeth Short. Her body has been cleanly, almost surgically, cut in two, and then the two parts separated by a gap of a few inches. It's symmetrical, and it's clear that this killer has left this body out to shock the world and to sow panic and fear across the city of Los Angeles. Now, that had always been the accepted story. It's amazing, it gets a ton of attention, and people always assumed that's how the story begins. But there was something something that bothered me about that, which was that the body wasn't discovered until 10:50 a.m. that morning. And this is a heavily trafficked street. There's a streetcar that actually deposits hundreds of commuters half a block away. People are up and down this street. How could somebody have never seen that body until 10:50? And so I knew that the only person who would have that answer potentially was the woman who found the body, Betty Bersinger. Now, I didn't know if she were alive. She was 102 years old at that time. But I was able to eventually locate her. And this is about 6 months before she passed on. So
wow.
The timing was really important. And I got to communicate with her. And what she told me was shocking. The body was not left by the sidewalk. When she was walking down the street that day, she turned to her right at a certain moment and saw a very, very white form 14 feet away in the weeds. It had been hidden, had been thrown away like trash in a trash-strewn lot. And she walked a few steps into the grass and looked, and there she saw the top torso, the top half of Elizabeth Short, face down. Now, her back hadn't been touched or mutilated, and so to Betty Bersinger, it looked like a mannequin, half a mannequin. So she walked down the street and she called the cops and told them, you got to pick up this mannequin. It's going to scare the kids that are in the neighborhood. And the cops show up, and exactly at 11:09 a.m., they're there. But there is a 9-minute gap between when the second set of officers arrive and then subsequently all the reporters. And the book goes into detail about what happened in that 9-minute gap that created this tableau that has become so world famous.
Wow.
Eli,
So it was not, so the positioning of everything had changed.
Yeah.
Between the time that this woman first saw her and when authorities arrived.
That's right. And later on, the lead detective in the case, Harry Hansen, in the 1970s, they did an interview with him. And he said everything that we figured out about the case or discovered about the case was pretty much reported in the press, except for one fact that they called the key question, or referred to as the secret clue. And he said it had to do with the attitude or position of the body when it was discovered. And those last 3 words are the crucial words. What he's referring to is when Betty Bersinger saw her for the first time, that position where the body was changed between that moment and when reporters arrived and the famous photographs that we see today.
Now this piece of nonfiction here, has this story been told on the movie on the big screen yet? I mean, it seems like ripe for that. Have there been movies over the years on
Yeah, there have. Brian De Palma did a film in 2006 that was based on James Ellroy's very famous and fantastic fictionalized version of the story. And then, like in American Horror Story, Elizabeth Short appears as a character in the first season. There hasn't been too much, considering kind of the fame of the case, if you will. And I think part of it is that it's a very complex case and there's no solutions at the end. You never get satisfaction. And so I think there's always been a little bit of reticence to tell it. But I think with all these new revelations that are coming out right now.
And the Kansas connection too, because that feels very new.
It's crazy, you know, through all these years, of course, people love true crime, but it being so long ago, it being 2025 now, and it being now your book, a USA Today bestseller, congratulations, by the way, that people are still so interested. Do you have any other cases that you're also into and investigating, and maybe we can expect another piece from you?
Yes, I can't stop. I love this stuff.
I bet.
It's fascinating, and it's also getting into other decades and worlds. You learn so much about the culture and police work at the time too. And I think for me, it's also there's a measure of bringing justice to these cases. Somehow, maybe we can do a little good by getting to the solutions, even if it's decades later. There's I think some hope and some satisfaction in that.
Eli, you are going to be making an appearance at the Bookseller, I understand. Is that right?
Correct.
What do people need to know if they want to come out, meet you, maybe get a signed copy?
Absolutely. Yes, I'm there to talk and answer any questions, and yeah, we're gonna have a good time.
When's that happening?
Tonight.
Tonight?
Yeah.
Timing?
7 o'clock, I believe.
Okay, yeah, you don't
putting
seem
you on
too
the
sure.
spot.
You better nail down that time.
Everyone follow Eli. And
Yes.
The one
and
question I can't answer.
Yeah, exactly. Is when he's going to be at the bookseller. Well, congratulations on this. This is pretty
It is so
fascinating.
cool.
I can tell Gabby's going to go down a
Yeah,
really long internet wormhole to figure out everything about it.
I am, because I actually really remember my grandmother telling me this story, because she's an LA resident, and so it's just like I really need to revisit it.
Okay.
2 questions for you. One is kind of silly with authors, but where can they find your book?
Oh, Amazon,
Anywhere, okay.
Barnes & Nobles, bookstores, pretty much anywhere.
Also, do you have an audiobook by any chance?
I do, and I did the voice.
You've got a great voice.
Yeah.
Noticing
It's
during
funny
your
because
interview.
you went into a little spiel there.
No,
I can hear it already.
Right.
Eli, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Have fun tonight in Chicago.
Yeah,
and I hope
congrats on
everyone at
this
home
too.
can go and visit.
Super fascinating. All right, we are going to take a quick break, but when we come back, the Magic Lounge experience, a little magic show in studio after this short break, everybody.
It's that.
Welcome back to Chicago Now. We are talking a little bit of magic and a little bit of Christmas as well. Joining us is Mark Clearview, MC, magician, and mentalist in the Magical Circuit Christmas. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Magical Circuit Christmas is coming to town, and it can be more exciting. Can you see how excited I am?
Yes,
your energy.
indeed.
Thank you.
Great suit as well, Mark.
Yeah,
Great
looking
suit.
nice.
The prescription's kicking in, so.
Very good. Okay, so tell us about what people can expect with this show.
This is a variety show. So there's like acrobats who are flying through the air, people hanging from their hair. There's magic, which is me, and that's one of my favorite parts. I'm a little bit biased. There's lots of amazing things that you can see. It's fun for the whole family. There's Christmas music, your favorite Christmas songs. And yeah, people can come watch circus acts, magic, and a story with heart throughout the whole thing.
And this is happening at the CIBC over Thanksgiving holiday, correct?
That's right. Yeah, CIBC Theater over the Thanksgiving holiday.
Oh, perfect. Getting you ready for that Christmas feeling. I have a question for you. It might be kind of silly.
Please.
But usually I feel like I hear either you're a magician or you're a mentalist, but you're both.
I do both those things, yeah. So I know exactly what you're thinking right now. It's very good. Yeah, I won't say it out loud, obviously. Right? But I also do magic. So to give you an example, like let's see how we're going to start this, right? I have an option for some people. So I have some cards here. There are 6 options for you in a second, okay? We're going to choose one of these 6 options, and that decides kind of how we start this. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 options here. I already think I know which one you're going to pick. I didn't ask you beforehand, did I? So this is going to be exactly how the next part of this is going to go. 6 secret options. Which one do you want?
5.
You want 5. Nobody ever says 5. That's amazing. It's a good choice for today. I'm going to take out 5 from here. I don't want anyone to see what it is yet. These are the 6 options. The one you chose is do a trick, which is really great. These were the other options.
Oh my gosh!
No way! That is so funny.
Okay.
Oh my God, you scared me.
Okay, they're not picking this one. Get out of here. Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. We'll get them one day.
Yeah,
I actually think he had something to do with the Black Dahlia. Not that I'm looking at him.
No.
Yeah, creepy. So it says do a trick, so should we just try a quick trick?
Yeah, please.
Let's do that. We're going to do a quick
I'm not
trick.
having to do it. You're going to do it.
I'm going to do it, of course. Yeah, I'm the magician. I have a deck of cards here, okay? I kind of asked you to name a card before we started.
Yeah,
you said the Ace of Spades and then 7 of Clubs or something like that. Doesn't matter. Let's pick a random one, okay? Lots of cards to choose from here. That was the mentalism. This is the magic. At some point, you'll say stop for me, Gabby. Wherever you say stop, that will be the card, okay? Say stop somewhere.
Stop.
Show everyone, don't show the magician. I will look away, and I definitely won't stare in this monitor over here. Good. I'm not looking at that
Not
card.
looking at the monitor.
I do
Put it
not
down?
know that it's the Queen of Hearts. Okay, put it back right here. That's great. This will go back inside the deck. We'll give it a shuffle so it's lost completely. And then we'll do this. And this is some of the stuff I do during the show. I interact with people. I go close up in the audience.
Wow.
I show off and I establish dominance. And then one card jumps out of the deck and it travels through the air. And if it went into one of my pockets, that would be pretty good. But Anthony, can you look in your back pocket for me? And show everyone that that is.
No, wait,
Oh,
hold
boy.
on. What? What? The Queen of what?
Questions,
believe
comments,
Concerns.
affirmations? Well done.
A little bit of
Affirmations.
all of the
Well
above.
done.
A little all of the above.
Thank
wow.
you. Thank you.
So
Wow.
even at a place though, like CIBC,
Yeah.
you know, it's a bigger space.
It's huge.
You can still interact and feel like people are getting to know you, getting up close and personal.
Well, we do bigger, huge magic tricks on that stage, obviously. There's things that appear in big boxes and people who are coming out of stuff like you expect from a big magic show, but we want to make it intimate for the families as well. So I come into the audience with a camera. I do things close up for the kids. I joke with them. There's comedy for everybody in this show. It's fun for everybody who comes to see it. So we want to keep everyone engaged the whole time.
You mentioned kids.
Yes.
I've got a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old. I'm guessing the
Nice.
4-year-old probably a little young for this, but what's a good age range?
I started doing magic when I was 4. My family started exploiting me. Yeah, so that worked out for me. But I think right at the beginning, probably 5, you really start to understand that things are impossible. Because children now, you know, if you levitate something at 3, you go, well, I don't know that that's impossible.
Exactly,
Maybe that's
yeah,
possible. You know?
Yeah.
They see things on TV and stuff like that all the time. So yeah, I would say starting at 5 years old is really great, but then all the way up to 99, 100, 101.
Wow. I also want to talk about the Magic Lounge because you're
Yes.
going to be performing there this week. That is a great venue too.
Yes, I love the Chicago Magic Lounge. It's a 200-seat magic theater that still feels really intimate. It's hidden behind a laundromat. All the magicians there are incredible. I love working with them all. And I just love Chicago. If I can say, this is one of my favorite cities in the world to do magic in. I've performed.
Where are you originally from, Mark?
I live in New York City now. I'm from Toronto, Canada, originally.
All
The
right.
51st state, I believe. So.
Okay, we got to go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have much more with Mark here and these upcoming performances, including how he first got into this line of work when we come back.
Wow, okay.
This is probably
Okay, we're back with Mark Clearview, MC, magician, and mentalist. It's going to be a new show happening, a Magical Cirque Christmas happening at CIBC. Okay, we talked about your background a little bit. You started really young, but what got you into all this?
I got into magic because I saw a magician at my 6th birthday party, and then a witch put a curse on me after that, and then I had powers, so I wanted to use them. But I saw that magician, and I told my parents that's what I want to do with the rest of my life, and they said okay, and they were very supportive.
You
And I
add
believe you
comedian to
when you
this,
say
too.
that, because even during our 60-second commercial break, we were busy.
Yeah, I was
During
trying to,
that 60
I was trying to read
60 seconds.
minds.
So there were some things that unfolded involving a phone, involving Gabby. She knows something that neither of us know.
That's right.
Get us updated on what just unfolded.
Well, I asked you to take your phone out. I was going to try
Yes.
a phone trick, but then we didn't do that, so that's fine. Then I asked
Okay.
you to think of a name instead, right? But you didn't say that out loud to any
No,
of us, right? So
only
then
I saw it.
we didn't do that. You just thought of somebody who came to you. I didn't tell you to tell me out loud. You didn't tell Anthony out loud, correct?
No.
So you just have a name in your head of somebody that you're thinking of,
Yeah.
right? Now, usually magicians will make you choose cards, they'll read your mind like that, but when you just think of somebody, there's no way for me to possibly go in your mind and get it. So I want you to think of this person's first name. I want you to think of their first letter of their first name, okay? And I'll go through the alphabet, A, B, C, D. Oh, right, so a little bit of a nod there. So I would say the first letter is a B of their name. I want you to imagine who this is standing in front of us. It's been a while since you've seen them maybe, but I'm seeing a man here. So there's a man standing. That's right. This person's close to you, very close to you. Think of a letter in the middle of the name somewhere. Don't tell me which one. Don't switch though. I saw an E and then a D, an N. There's an N too. That's the one you went for. Okay, great. So so imagine the name in your mind and mind again. And when you see him the next time, can you just tell Brendan that I said hello?
No way. Yeah.
What are you thinking of?
That's my husband.
Brendan. Oh, and so you know his last name too, right? Yeah. Aired.
You got it.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Did you Google?
No, hold on.
You just thought of that.
That's
I didn't know you were going to think of
nutty.
Brendan Aired.
That's crazy.
That's in your mind. And I don't read minds. I read people. Just kidding. That's ridiculous.
I saw her head go like that.
You see that?
Yeah. You were going like this, and Gabby goes like that.
I had no control over my body.
That was the injection kicking in finally. You didn't feel that part. Sorry.
Dude.
Thank you.
That
Thank you.
was
sick. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Mark, I'm so amazed, and I'm glad you enjoy Chicago because I know Chicago is going to enjoy you. One more time, let everyone know where they can find you this week.
I'm at the Chicago Magic Lounge this week, and I do the Magical Cirque Christmas here all of Thanksgiving, so get tickets at www.broadwayinchicago.com. That's where you can get your tickets.
Clearview.
If you can see you at the lounge, that would be great, but we'd love to see you on tour. I love meeting all the families.
You know what? Also, though, if people can't catch your show, can they follow you anywhere on social media? Please
Yes.
tell us.
Yeah.
I'm Mark Clearview on social media, MarkClearView. Just like it sounds. And my follower count is criminally low, so let's get that up, okay? That's
We're
what we should be doing.
criminally low.
Chicago, yeah.
Gabby needs a little. She's overheating over here.
I'm overheating. I'm overwhelmed.
Clearview.
That was amazing.
Blowing our minds, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with
so
the show.
much.
Break a leg. I would say good luck. You don't need it.
Exactly. No, you don't need anything from us.
That was education.
Oh,
I'm
God.
going to see you in the front row.
My powers are leaking out of me.
I will see you guys on Friday. We'll be right back tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Gabs.
No, my God.
I don't know what to make of all this.
It's Darby.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at Noon.
Breaking now at noon, federal court wraps up just moments ago. Border Chief Greg Bavino is admonished for tactics used in Chicago. We'll have the latest from court. The government shutdown is now shutting down airspace at airports across the country. We'll let you know how Chicago is going to be impacted. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Sylvia Perez. Natalie has the day off. Major developments inside a federal courtroom right here in Chicago. A judge has decided to extend a temporary restraining order setting limits for Border Patrol agents here. Roseanne is joining us live with the latest on what happened in the courtroom today. Roseanne?
Well, Sylvia, this was no quick ruling. We were in there for 2 hours as the judge outlined all of the allegations in this case. And despite claims from the government that protesters were rioters, slashing tires, throwing rocks, and putting agents at risk, the judge found those claims were simply not credible. And she did continue the temporary restraining order. She also recapped testimony from witness after witness witness yesterday who described unprovoked use of tear gas, pepper balls, pit maneuvers, and more, saying that agents have created violent situations, not the other way around. One stinging blow to the credibility of Border Patrol, an admission from Border Chief Greg Bavino that he did not throw a tear gas canister after being hit by a rock. He threw it before he was hit by the rock. The judge did acknowledge that the violence at Broadview has decreased in recent weeks since they set up a compound there. She said she doesn't dispute the compelling interest in enforcement of federal laws, but is difficult to conceive any injunction requiring the government to uphold the Constitution would be a harm to the government. So a lot of those restrictions, all of the restrictions in place on the Border Patrol agents will continue. As you know, they are not able to use chemical weapons unless there is an immediate threat. And she went through many of the cases where it's been used and didn't consider any of those meeting that requirement. They also have to wear the body cams and so on. But a very interesting day. The judge quoting George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, you name it. She really reached into the history books for a lot of discussion about First Amendment rights and the protections for protesters and also the media, who, of course, are part of this lawsuit that was brought by Chicago media organizations and others. Now, we are waiting for some of the attorneys involved in this case to come down and talk to us. They will undoubtedly be very relieved and happy to know that the judge, Judge Sarah Ellis, U.S. District Court judge here, was on their side today. Back to you now, Sylvia.
Roseanne, can you address, the judge said that if they didn't comply with the TRO, she did not see a reason for them to use a tear gas. What did she say the ramifications would be against them?
Now, I don't, we didn't get into that. Again, there was such a lot of information today that I apologize if I missed that. I was typing furiously as the judge went point by point. But I can tell you that, again, she went over some of these incidents that have been unfolding in Chicago in recent days, talking about that there was no credible threat of, mothers. Or one that she mentioned was the Halloween parade in Irving Park, that a man came out dressed in a duck costume and was tackled, and they sprayed tear gas. And, to her, after all the evidence was in there, didn't seem to be any indication that it was warranted. Time after time, there was video to support claims of protesters that they didn't incite anything and that nothing had unfolded that would require the use of force in that way.
Yeah, it sounds like an interesting day in court. Thanks so much for that report, Roseanne. Well, Mayor Johnson is criticizing federal officials after a viral video shows ICE agents detaining a preschool teacher at her daycare. This happened in the North Center neighborhood early Wednesday. The woman's attorneys, along with Illinois Representative Mike Quigley, say she is here legally under a work permit. She has a pending case for legal asylum. According to the Department of Homeland Security, she ran from agents into the daycare to try to escape from a traffic stop. Mayor Johnson says the video shocked every single Chicago resident across the city.
This is not who we are. We most certainly cannot have this in our city or our country. My heart certainly goes out to the 47th Ward, who were deeply appalled and shocked by this kind of incident.
The Department of Homeland Security says Diana Patricia Santillana Galliano crossed the southern border illegally in 2023, and they claim she paid for smugglers to illegally bring her 2 teenage children into the country illegally. Here and across the country, we're taking a live look at O'Hare Airport, where airlines and passengers are bracing for some potential delays. Beginning tomorrow, the FAA will start cutting flights at some of the nation's busiest airports, including O'Hare and Midway, because of the government shutdown. Rebecca Castor has details from Washington.
Remember when one Democrat aide remarked that the party will not concede short of planes falling out of the sky? They weren't kidding.
But the FAA is about to take drastic measures to ensure that doesn't happen as the government shutdown drags on. It's reducing capacity by at least 4% at high-traffic airports starting Friday, increasing by 1% each day until it hits a 10% reduction next week.
This was not a political decision. This was a data-driven decision to make the right calls, to get ahead of any issues that could happen. We've never had a shutdown that's lasted this long, so we're in uncharted territory.
40 of the nation's busiest airports for travelers and cargo will be forced to cut flights, leading the CEO of Frontier Airlines to even tell passengers to book a backup ticket on a different carrier so they don't end up stranded.
I hope some of those senators and congressmen get stuck because they can't get somewhere, so they'll get there and figure this out and get it going again.
It's time to sit down and negotiate with Democrats to bring this Republican shutdown to an end.
Democrats are still holding out over health care subsidies, an issue Republicans won't negotiate until the government is back open.
I hope there are some Democrats who can take an honest look at the widespread damage that their shutdown is doing and say enough is enough.
President Trump thinks the way to end the shutdown is by getting rid of the Senate filibuster so Republicans can pass the spending bill on their own. But that plan isn't gaining much traction with Senate leadership. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox 32 Chicago.
Let's take a live look outside on this gorgeous fall day. Sunny. Look at the bean. The tourists are out enjoying it and the gorgeous fall colors. Let's find out what we can expect with our forecast with meteorologist Mike Kaplan.
All right, it's pretty nice out there right now with temperatures climbing well into the 50s, but we've got to talk about some wintry weather on the way, especially over the weekend. Here's the deal. Tonight, we get a little bit of rain, especially after midnight, and one or two spots might even hear a rumble of thunder out there. Rain returns Saturday, mainly in the afternoon and evening, but some could sneak in late in the morning. But as cold air filters in on the backside of the storm system, some of that rain is going to change over to snow Saturday night. At this point, I'm thinking the ground's going to be too warm for an accumulation. Lake effect snow, however, is expected late Sunday into Monday morning. But here's the deal. Some of that snow could be pointed only at Indiana. Some of it might come a little bit farther to the west. So we're going to monitor that lake effect potential. Today, headed for the upper 50s, pretty much area-wide. South of I-80, it might touch 60 with partly sunny skies. Back to you.
Thank you, Mike. The stalemate on Capitol Hill shows no sign of ending anytime soon. Today is day 37 of the government shutdown, and President Trump is turning up the pressure on his own party to end the shutdown, demanding Senate Republicans get rid of the filibuster. The Senate is not scheduled to vote again, but Senate Majority Leader John Thune said the Senate could stay through the weekend if there is a path forward. In the meantime, the need is growing in the northwest suburbs. The Schaumburg Township Food Pantry is seeing a surge in families